This is the new settlement from a one-nation government. This is a one-nation budget that takes the necessary steps and follows a sensible path for the benefit of the whole United Kingdom. I can confirm that the analysis produced today shows the richest are paying a greater share of tax than they were at the start of the last Parliament. And more than that, we are continuing to devote a greater share of state support to the most vulnerable. We found annual savings of £12 billion from welfare and £5 billion from tackling tax evasion, avoidance, planning and imbalances in the tax system. So to ensure we have public services we can afford and to protect more jobs, we will continue recent public sector pay awards with a rise of 1% per year for the next 4 years. The NHS will receive, in addition to the £2 billion we've already provided this year, a further £8 billion. That's £10 billion more a year in real terms by 2020. We're boosting HMRC's capacity with £750 million of investment to go after tax fraud, offshore trusts and the businesses of the hidden economy, tripling the number of wealthy evaders they pursue for prosecution and raising £7.2 billion in extra tax. We're going to change the law to stop the use of losses which abuse our controlled foreign companies regime and make sure investment fund managers pay the full capital gains tax rate on their carried interest. We'll stop corporates artificially increasing the value of stock for tax purposes, and to focus the employment allowance on employment, we're restricting it so that companies where the director is the sole employee will no longer be able to claim. It is not fair that people who are born in the UK to parents who are domiciled here can later in life claim to be non-doms and live here. It is not fair that non-doms with residential property here in the UK can put it in an offshore company and avoid inheritance tax. From now on, they will pay the same tax as everyone else. I am today abolishing permanent non-dom tax status. Anyone resident in the UK for more than 15 of the past 20 years will now pay full British taxes on all worldwide income and gains. So I will, over the next 6 years, gradually reduce the bank levy rate, and after that, make sure it no longer applies to worldwide balance sheets. But to maintain a fair contribution from the banks, I will introduce a new 8% surcharge on bank profits from the 1st of January next year. In the week of the poignant anniversary of the 7/7 attacks, we should recognise too our victims of terrorism overseas have no permanent memorial. We will now fund one, as well as a specific memorial to those murdered in Tunisia. From 2017, for brand new cars only, we will introduce new VED bans. The duty in the first year will be set according to emissions like today, but updated for new technology. Thereafter, there will be 3 duty bands, zero emission, standard and premium. For standard cars, that covers 95% of all cars sold in the UK, the charge will be £140 a year. That's less than the average £166 that motorists pay today. There will be no change to VED for existing cars. No one will pay more in tax than they do today for the car they already own. From the end of this decade, every single penny raised in vehicle excise duty in England will go into that fund to pay for that sustained investment our roads so badly need. Fuel duty will remain frozen this year. We're going to introduce an apprenticeship levy on all large firms. Firms that offer apprenticeships can get back more than they put in. Britain's great businesses training up the next generation, 3 million more apprenticeships with the security that will bring. So from 2016-17 academic year, we will replace maintenance grants with loans for new students, loans that only have to be paid back once they earn over £21,000 a year. And to ensure university is affordable to all students from all backgrounds, will increase the maintenance loan available to £8,200, the highest amount of support ever provided. I can today announce that I have reached agreement with the leaders of the 10 councils of Greater Manchester to devolve further powers to that city. These include putting fire services under the control of the new mayor, establishing a land commission in the city, and further collaboration on children's services and employment programmes. The historic devolution that we have agreed with Greater Manchester in return for a directly elected mayor is available to other cities who want to go down a similar path. We will retain mortgage interest relief on residential property, but we will now restrict it to the basic rate of income tax. And to help people adjust, we will phase in the withdrawal of the higher rate reliefs over a 4-year period and only start withdrawal in April 2017. Second, the rent-a-room relief is designed to help homeowners who rent out a room in their home. It's a good scheme, particularly in a world where more and more people are renting out rooms online, but the relief has been frozen at £4,250 for 18 years. Next year, we will raise it to £7,500. You can pass on up to £1 million onto your children free of inheritance tax. Mr. Deputy Speaker, no more inheritance tax on family homes, aspiration supported, the tax paid only by the rich, the security of home ownership restored, promise made, promise delivered. Yeah. So I can confirm that the annual investment allowance will not fall to £25,000, but will be set at £200,000 this year and every single year. A major permanent boost to the incentives for long-term investment by small and medium-sized firms in Britain. The dividend tax credit will be replaced with a new tax-free allowance of £5,000 of dividend income for all taxpayers. The rates of dividend tax will be set at 7.5%, 32.5% and 38.1%, an increase of 7.5% where dividend income exceeds £5,000. Dividends paid within pensions and ISAs will remain tax-free and unaffected by these changes. Britain's corporation tax rate will fall to 19% in 2017 and 18% in 2020. We're giving businesses the lower taxes they can count on to grow with confidence, invest with confidence, create jobs with confidence. A new 18% rate of corporation tax, sending out loud and clear the message around the world that Britain is open for business. The BBC has agreed to take on responsibility for the funding of free TV licences for the over 75s, and in return we're able to give our valued public broadcaster a sustainable income for the long term. So for those aged 18 to 21, we're introducing a new youth obligation that says they must either earn or learn. We're also abolishing the automatic entitlement to housing benefit for 18 to 21-year-olds. And that from September 2017, all working parents of 3- and 4-year-olds will receive free childcare of up to 30 hours a week. Yeah. We will legislate to freeze working age benefits for 4 years. That will include tax credits and local housing allowance, and it means earnings growth will catch up and overtake the growth in benefits. Statutory payments like maternity pay and the disability benefits PIP, DLA and ESA support group will be excluded from the freeze. So rents paid in the social housing sector will not be frozen but be reduced by 1% a year for the next 4 years. So from next year, we will reduce the level of earnings at which a household's tax credits and universal credits start to be withdrawn. The income threshold in tax credits will be reduced from £6,420 to £3,850. Universal credit work allowance will be similarly reduced, and they will no longer be awarded to non-disabled claimants without children. We will now go further and reduce the benefits cap from £26,000 to £23,000 in London and £20,000 in the rest of the country. We're also going to require those on higher incomes living in social housing to pay rents at the market rate. It's not fair that families earning over £40,000 in London or £30,000 elsewhere should have their rents subsidised by other working people. In future, we will limit the support provided through tax credits and universal credit to 2 children. Families who have a third or subsequent child after April 2017 will not receive additional tax credit or UC support for this child. I am raising the tax-free personal allowance to £11,000 next year. That's £11,000 you can earn before paying any income tax at all, boosting wages by over £900 in total, and a down payment on our goal of reaching £12,500. We will now legislate so that after that the personal allowance always rises in line with the minimum wage, and we never ask the lowest paid in our society to pay income tax. The higher rate threshold currently stands at £42,385. I am today raising it to £43,000 from next year. So I will guarantee a real increase in the defence budget every year, and on top of that create a joint security fund of £1.5 billion a year by the end of the Parliament. The Defence and Intelligence Services will have to demonstrate they are delivering real efficiency, and the Strategic Defence and Security Review will allocate the money in the most effective way. I'm also protecting our overall counter-terrorism effort, and I reaffirm our international aid budget that saves lives and supports our values around the world, committing to the values we hold dear and defend around the world, and so committing today to meet the NATO pledge to spend 2% of our national income on defence. I am today introducing a new national living wage. We will set it to reach £9 an hour by 2020. The new national living wage will be compulsory. Working people aged 25 and over will receive it. It will start next April at the rate of £7.20. The Low Pay Commission will recommend future rises that achieve the government's objective of reaching 6% of median earnings by 2020. A plan for working people, one purpose, one policy, one nation. Yeah!